Officials want the public's help in figuring out what the heck this is. Caught in a security camera photo, a bizarre figure is seen walking outside the Amarillo Zoo.
On the morning of May 21st, 2022, the staff at Amarillo Zoo in Texas arrived for their usual day of work. But little did they know that they were about to stumble upon something that would capture the imagination of the entire town and beyond. As part of their routine, the zoo employees began reviewing the previous night's security camera footage. It was around 1:25 in the morning when they noticed something peculiar. There, on the grainy black and white screen, was a figure unlike anything they'd seen before. The creature, if you could call it that, appeared to be bipedal, standing upright like a person. But the shape was all wrong. It had a strange, elongated head that almost looked like it was wearing an unusual hat. Its body was thin and lanky, with proportions that didn't quite match any known animal or person. Interestingly, the zoo's cameras were set up to only capture still images when they detected motion. This meant that instead of a video showing how this mysterious figure moved, they were left with a single, eerie snapshot frozen in time. The staff were baffled. Was this some kind of prank? A person in a costume? Or could it be something more unexplainable? They knew they had to get a second opinion. The zoo's staff quickly brought the image to the attention of Michael Kashuba, the director of Parks and Recreation for the city of Amarillo. Kashuba's initial reaction was one of intrigue and excitement. I mean, he recognized immediately that this wasn't just an ordinary night at the zoo. Kashuba, knowing the potential interest this image could generate, made a bold decision. Instead of keeping the mysterious figure under wraps, he decided to share it with the public. On the zoo's social media accounts, they posted the grainy image along with a playful caption dubbing the figure a UAO, an unidentified Amarillo object. The post read, "The Amarillo Zoo captured a strange image outside the zoo in the dark and early morning hours of May 21st around 1:25 a.m. Is it a person with a strange hat who likes to walk at night? A chupacabra? Do you have any ideas of what this UAO could be?" What's interesting is that Kashuba and the zoo staff weren't just sharing the image for fun. They genuinely wanted input from the community. In an interview with News Channel 10, he explained, "We'd love to hear feedback from the community on what they think it might be."
Officials want the public's help in figuring out what the heck this is. Caught in a security camera photo, a bizarre figure is seen walking outside the Amarillo Zoo. City authorities say the image is real and they're baffled, so they're now asking for public input on social media.
Anticipating skepticism, Kashuba made a point to address the authenticity of the image, and he stated firmly that the photo is absolutely real. Now, this declaration was crucial as it set the stage for what was about to unfold. A wave of speculation and theories that would sweep across not just Amarillo, but the entire internet. And as the image began to circulate more, it quickly caught fire on most social media platforms. What had started as a local curiosity was now rapidly becoming a nationwide phenomenon. People from all walks of life were chiming in with their theories about what this strange figure could be. And the range of suggestions was as diverse as it was entertaining. Some took a more lighthearted approach to the mystery. One user on X, formerly known as Twitter, confidently declared that the figure was none other than Rocket, the wisecracking raccoon from the popular Guardians of the Galaxy. It was a humorous take, but one that highlighted just how unusual and out of place the creature in the image appeared. Others leaned into more traditional cryptozoological explanations. Sasquatch, the legendary creature of North American folklore, was the most popular guess. It wasn't hard to see why. The figure's upright stance and seemingly furry appearance did bear some resemblance to descriptions of the elusive Bigfoot. Perhaps the most intriguing theory came from those who believed in the supernatural. One user wrote, "Clearly a skinwalker phasing between two densities or dimensions, and what a better place but the zoo." Interestingly, some observers drew parallels to popular fiction. One commenter noted a resemblance to the werewolf from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, highlighting how this thing's appearance seemed to straddle the line between reality and fantasy. Some members of the public began to demand more evidence. One user urged the zoo to release video footage of the creature, hoping to see how it moved. However, the zoo had to disappoint them, explaining this image was taken from a camera that only shoots a still image when it detects motion. This limitation only added to the intrigue, leaving the creature's true nature even more open to interpretation. What's noteworthy about this incident is how it just completely captivated people's imaginations for the time it did. Even nearly 2 years after the sighting, as of early 2024, the true identity of the Amarillo Zoo creature remains a mystery. On the afternoon of July 15, 2023, Tina Collig, a resident of Hill County Village, Texas, was going about her day as usual. Hill Country Village is a small, affluent suburb located just north of San Antonio, known for its quiet streets and large wooded properties. What's interesting about this area is that despite its proximity to a major city, it's not uncommon for residents to encounter wildlife in their yards. Tina was inside her home when something caught her eye through the window.
I was inside and I looked out into the yard and I looked right here and I saw this animal. I thought, wow, what is that?
So she snapped a picture.
And I saw him walking around this tree. And
whatever it is, it has a sweet tooth.
These are the fruits. And they drop on the ground.
Tina was able to get just one more photo before the animal disappeared into a shroud of mystery.
She noticed an unusual animal in her yard near a berry bush. Now, it's important to understand that while seeing animals in the yard isn't uncommon in Hill Country Village, and this particular creature stood out to Tina as something she'd never seen before. Intrigued by this strange sight, Tina did what many of us would do in the digital age. She grabbed her phone to take a picture. As she watched, the animal seemed to be eating berries that had fallen from the bush. This detail is significant because it gives us a clue about the creature's diet and behavior. Tina managed to snap 2 photos before the animal vanished. Now, these weren't high-quality close-up shots. They were taken from inside the house through a window, but they were clear enough to capture the essence of what made this animal so puzzling. The creature appeared to have a somewhat mangy appearance with an unusual body shape that didn't immediately match any common Texas wildlife. What's also interesting about this sighting is that it occurred in broad daylight. Many mysterious animal sightings happen at night when poor visibility can lead to misidentification. But in this case, Tina had a clear view of the animal in her yard, which makes her inability to identify it all the more interesting. After the animal left, Tina was left with more questions than answers. I mean, what exactly had she seen in her yard? Was it a known species that just looked unusual, or could it be something more exotic? And as the news of this spread, it quickly became clear that this wasn't going to be a simple case of animal identification. The day after her encounter, Tina decided to turn to her neighbors for help. She posted the photos she had taken on Nextdoor, a popular social media platform for local communities. And her post was simple and straightforward. "What is it?" she asked, sharing the 2 images she had captured. What's interesting is how quickly the post captured the attention of the Hill Country Village community. Within just 24 hours, more than 100 people had responded to the post.
Large animal, kind of looks like a wolf, but not like a neighborhood dog.
I would say some kind of cat, like a bobcat, mountain lion.
It looks like some kind of like mangy coyote.
And this rapid and widespread response gives us a sense of just how strange and unusual this sighting was. Evidence drawing on local folklore suggested it might be the legendary mountain lion that was said to roam the area.
According to local legend, an old mountain lion roams Hill Country Village, but no one has been able to get a picture of it, according to city officials.
Other responses took a more imaginative turn: chupacabra. Some suggested referring to the legendary creature from Latin American folklore. When people can't identify something, they often turn to mythical explanations. Some residents offered more grounded theories, suggested it might be a cross between a coyote and a dog. As the online discussion grew, it became clear that this mystery wasn't going to be solved by community speculation alone. The incident had grown beyond a simple backyard sighting and was now capturing the attention of local officials and experts. The question on everyone's mind was, what exactly was roaming the streets of Hill Country Village? As the mystery deepened, local officials decided to get involved. The city manager of Hill Country Village, recognizing the level of public interest and potential concern, took it upon himself to investigate the situation. It's also worth noting that in a small, tight-knit community like Hill Country Village, even a seemingly minor incident like an unidentified animal sighting can become a matter of public interest really quickly. In an effort to get to the bottom of this, the city reached out to the Texas game wardens. Now, this is a significant step because the game wardens are the state's experts when it comes to wildlife. Their involvement suggests the local officials were taking the sighting seriously and wanted professional input. At the same time, news of the mysterious creature had reached local media. KENS 5, a San Antonio news station, picked up the story and decided to conduct their own investigation. This media involvement is interesting because it elevated the incident from a local curiosity to a regional news story. KENS 5 took a two-pronged approach to their investigation. First, they reached out to the Texas game wardens, just as the city had done. They decided to take Tina's photos to the experts at the San Antonio Zoo. Now, at the zoo, the photos were examined by Rachel Malstaff, the director of mammals. In her expertise, it would be invaluable to identifying the creature. Additionally, two veterinarians, Dr. Rob and Dr. Tara, were brought in to offer their professional opinions. Now, the response from the zoo was intriguing. After examining the photos, Rachel Malstaff suggested that the animal appeared to be either a dog or a coyote. This assessment is interesting because it does align with some of the community's speculation, but it comes from a place of professional expertise. The veterinarians offered a more specific theory. They suggested that the creature was likely a dog suffering from skin issues. This diagnosis would explain the animal's unusual, somewhat mangy appearance that had puzzled Tina and her neighbors. What's noteworthy about these expert opinions is how they contrast with some of the more exotic theories that had been circulating. While residents had been speculating about mountain lions and mythical creatures, the professionals were pointing towards a much more mundane, less exciting explanation. However, even with these expert assessments, the case wasn't entirely closed. The Texas game wardens had yet to respond to the inquiries from both the city and KENS 5. Their input could potentially provide additional insight or even challenge the conclusions. Unfortunately, even today in 2024, there has been no definitive conclusion to what this creature is. And while we might have some good theories, its true identity remains unknown. On the evening of January 8, 2008, the quiet town of Stevenville, Texas, became the epicenter of one of the most intriguing UFO sightings in recent American history. What began as a few isolated reports quickly snowballed into a phenomenon that would capture national attention and leave experts scratching their heads. It all started when several dozen residents, including a pilot, a county constable, and a local business owner, reported seeing something extraordinary in the sky. These weren't your typical UFO enthusiast or people prone to flights of fancy. These were respected people in the community, people whose words carried weight and authenticity. What they described was unlike anything they'd ever seen before. They talked about a large, silent object with bright lights flying low and fast over their town. Some even reported seeing fighter jets in pursuit, as if the military was just as curious about this unidentified craft as everybody else was. What made this so compelling wasn't just the number of witnesses, it was the consistency in their descriptions. Person after person and town after town over a period of weeks all described the same thing, an object that was larger, quieter, faster, and lower to the ground than any known conventional aircraft. They also noted something strange about its lights. They seemed to change configuration, a feature distinctly unlike those of a normal plane. As the news of the sighting spread, one name kept coming up: Ricky Sorrells, a resident of nearby Dublin, Texas, had an encounter that would prove to be one of the most detailed and perplexing of all the sightings. On that fateful day, Ricky was on his property when he noticed something extraordinary happening above him. Now, as he looked up through the trees, he saw what he described as this massive tin barn gray metal object. But this wasn't just any large gray object. What made his sighting strange was the detail he was able to observe. According to Ricky, the object was emitting what he called mirage heat waves, giving it an almost ethereal quality. But the most striking feature was what he saw embedded in the surface of this craft, cone-shaped holes that appeared to be equally separated by about 40 feet over the entire surface. Trying to make sense of what it was he was seeing, estimated that the craft was hovering about 300 feet above him and the trees. He described the surface diameter of these cone-shaped holes as being about 6 feet wide, tapering another 6 to 8 feet down into the craft, ending in a 3-foot diameter circle at the bottom. But here's what's truly mind-boggling. Ricky claimed that this object was massive. He estimated it to be at least 3 football fields in length, which is humongous. That's roughly about 1,000 feet. To put that into perspective, that's more than 3 times the length of a Boeing 747, which is one of the largest commercial aircraft in use. His encounter was so vivid and detailed that he was able to create drawings of what he saw. These sketches focused on the cone-shaped holes and the overall structure of the craft, and it would later become crucial pieces of evidence in this investigation. As news of Ricky's sighting spread, it caught the attention of Linda Moulton Howe, a well-known investigative journalist specializing in UFO phenomena. Linda found Ricky's account so compelling that she featured his drawings on her own website, earthfiles.com, bringing even more attention to this incident. But Ricky Sorrells wasn't the only one with the story. Witnesses would continue to come forward, each adding their own piece to the strange puzzle. Another key witness would emerge, Steve Allan, a veteran pilot with years of experience in the skies. On January 14, 2008, Allan found himself at the center of media attention, giving an interview to Mike Von Fremd of ABC News that would further fuel the growing intrigue surrounding these sightings. Allan was spooked, and he even mentioned in the interview that it was nothing from these parts. Now keep in mind that as a pilot, Allan was no stranger to aircraft of all kinds, which made his account all the more compelling. He even described the unidentified object as an enormous aircraft with flashing strobe lights. But what struck him most was the silence that accompanied this craft. Despite its size and speed, it made no sound whatsoever, which defied everything Allan knew about conventional aircraft. Now, the details Allan provided were staggering. He estimated that the UFO to be about half a mile wide and a mile long. Bigger than a Walmart, he would say, trying to give a sense of scale to something that seemed to defy all comprehension. To put this in perspective, Allan was describing an object larger than any known aircraft in existence. But it wasn't just the size that left Allan in awe, it was the speed. According to Allan, the object moved at an incredible velocity, covering a distance in seconds that would take him 20 minutes. He estimated its speed at over 3,000 miles an hour, far beyond the capabilities of any known aircraft. As if this wasn't bizarre and crazy enough, Allan reported seeing 2 fighter jets in pursuit of the object. Interesting. But these military aircraft, some of the most advanced flying machines on the planet, were hopelessly outmaneuvered by the UFO, at least according to Allan. Now, the implications of Allan's account were profound. Here was an experienced pilot, someone intimately familiar with the limitations and capabilities of aircraft, describing something that seemed to break all the rules of aviation and physics as we know it. And yet another eyewitness account would pop up. A local law enforcement officer whose sighting would add yet another layer of credibility to the growing number of reports also spoke of something similar. A gentleman by the name of Leroy Gaitan of Dublin, Texas, a man whose job it was to uphold the law and maintain order, had an experience he couldn't properly comprehend. On January 15, 2008, his account was featured in a story picked up by the Associated Press from a local Empire Tribune. The photograph accompanying the article showed him standing at his residence, his expression serious as he recounted what he had seen. But what made his testimony intriguing wasn't just his own sighting, it was what he reported hearing from a fellow law enforcement officer. According to him, another officer had witnessed something strange near the courthouse. This unnamed officer described seeing a huge, cigar-shaped aerial craft moving slowly through the night sky. The object was reportedly flying at an altitude of just 300 to 400 feet, low enough to be clearly visible, and what's more is he noted two peculiar antennas on the craft, each topped with a red light. The size of the object, as reported by the officer, was staggering. He relayed that his colleague estimated it to be approximately 2 to 3 football fields in length. This description aligned well with the accounts given by Ricky Sorrells, who had also described an object of massive proportions. To help visualize this crazy sighting, computer illustrations were created based on the description. These renderings, created by artist Gregory Waters, depicted a massive elongated craft with a metallic surface, its red-tipped antennas clearly visible. It's important to note that while the illustration showed the craft at dusk for clarity, the officer had actually seen it as a dark silhouette against the night sky. The fact that this sighting came from an officer added a whole new level of credibility. At this point, with so many credible eyewitnesses, it became hard for skeptics to dismiss the sightings as mere misidentifications or overactive imaginations. The consistency between the various accounts, from Ricky's detailed description to Steve Allan's to both police officers, was starting to paint a compelling picture of something truly unusual in the skies over Texas. But even as the evidence continued to mount, questions remained. What exactly were these objects? Where did they come from? And perhaps, why were they here? One of the most intriguing aspects of the sightings was the apparent interest of the military. Several witnesses, including Steve Allan, reported seeing fighter jets in pursuit of this craft. Now, this raised a number of questions. Was the military aware of these objects? Were they actively tracking them? And if so, what did they know that the public didn't? In the weeks following the initial sightings, the Air Force Reserve Command at the Naval Air Station Fort Worth Joint Reserve Base issued a statement. They claimed that F-16 fighter jets had been conducting training fights in the area on the night of January 8th. However, many witnesses found this explanation unsatisfactory. The object they had seen was described as much larger and faster than any conventional aircraft, including F-16s. Adding to the mystery was the reaction of law enforcement. While there were some officers open to talk about their experiences, others seemed reluctant to discuss it. This led to speculation about whether there had been any official directive to keep quiet about this. This case got so strange that one of the UFO researchers by the name of Robert Powell, a director of the Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON, and his team began an investigation of the sightings, interviewing witnesses and collecting radar data from the night in question. What they found was startling. The radar data seemed to corroborate many of the witness accounts, showing an object without a transponder signal moving at an incredible speed. At times, the object appeared to accelerate from stationary to several thousand miles per hour, almost instantaneously, a feat beyond the capabilities of any known aircraft that we have, or maybe that we don't have. At the time, this small town was blowing up with media attention, and one local business owner who wished to remain anonymous had told reporters, "Look, I've lived here all my life and I've never seen anything like what people are describing, but I know these folks and they're not the type to make things up. Something happened here whether we can explain it or not." Now, as time would go on, the sightings became less frequent, but the questions they raised still lingered. You had credible eyewitnesses, apparent military involvement, and objects displaying capabilities far beyond any known technology. Yet, like many such cases, definitive answers remained elusive. The Air Force stuck to its explanation of training exercises, while many witnesses remained convinced that they had seen something far beyond normal day technology. And even now, all these years later, this entire case continues to be a subject of debate and speculation. And keep in mind, folks, I didn't cover everything in this case. There's just so much to look at here. I only kind of gave you guys a TLDR. Unfortunately, the truth behind the military's involvement of whatever mysterious craft this was, and the true identity of the craft itself, will remain a mystery. And because you guys made it this far into the episode, I want you to all comment below, Texas is weird, man. So that way I know who made it to the end and who didn't. And if you guys enjoy videos like this, where we dive into strange stories and cases of the mysterious and supernatural, then what are you waiting for? Smack that like and subscribe button for more content just like this. As always, I love you all, keep an open mind, and I'll catch you all in the very next video.